Work for me. Don't get complicated, okay? Ugh. Okay, like we talked about last time, we're going to go ahead and do really light washes. So the first thing we're going to try to focus on is we're going to go back in through here and we're going to create like this concave of like depth of trees in the back, okay? We're going to go with the lighter green, the sage green. Make sure it is very wet. So if you've not already woken it up, please do. We don't want thick amounts of this, okay? We want it very thin, so you're going to want a lot of water. So, with that, and if I were you, I'd be watching. You can start this however you want and wherever you want, or you can basically follow along with me. But like I said, I want you to kind of create like a little concave of just forest in the background. So you see how I'm just very lightly pulling in, and then I'm going to start to add just shapes. Okay? It is very, very light. Exactly. So once that's in, like I see, like I said, like you have to like squint. Much better. Better? Okay. So once we have that, you're going to come back in with more paint, and then we're just going to pull all of that out. Does that make sense? So that's the only thing you're going to do right now is you're going to take your really, really watery green. You're going to create those shapes with just a line. Then we're going to come back in. That's a little heavy. And we're just going to take and match that value everywhere else. So we're just darkening that one space that we created. Matching that value. That's why you want really watery paint. You do not want harsh or dark green lines because that's just layer one. We're going to do more layers. And so if you're going to have to fight against your value, it's going to be frustrating. You really want this to be very thin paint. Lots of water. Did you just say dark paint? Because I literally said multiple times not dark paint. The only hard line I want to see is the one on the outside. You want this blend to pull to the outside of your paper. We don't want to see like a line and then like paint underneath. You really want everything to blend nicely together. Well, then you probably need to have more paint. Like more of what you've created. Not more saturation, but you want it to be more of that watered down. Do you see how much of a puddle I have right here? Is that?
We do get a little.
Yeah.
When we're pulling.
Mm-hmm.
How does that look?
Yes. Okay, now really, really dark right now, but you can still save it. So I would put a little bit more water here and then start to pull it out. That looks good. Good. Really light. You're really, really dark, sir. I would grab a paper towel and dab some of that out. How's my back row doing? Darn, that looks good.
I kind of like.
Yep. That's really, really dark.
We're gonna tell you.
You need a lot more water, my dude.
So like.
So, did you add any green yet, or is that just your yellow? Okay, that looks good. When you do your green, you're gonna go from your edges and pull it forward. But you want to keep that circle. You go from the edges, and then as you pull, you just. Hey, you got it. And then add more. Yes. Yeah. Yes. You have really dark lines. I would try to pull some of that out. So what I mean by that, and you probably should have your own water. We don't want to see hard lines. We want to make sure everything matches. Does that make sense? Thank you for informing me that it was not bright enough here. Because like on my screen it looks perfect, but the projector
That's why I'm like right here in this corner.
friggin' turd.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like saturated. Like
That's perfect. No, that's actually it'll work out in your favor. And if you don't need that much, you can just take a paper towel and slap some of it out.
because like you said, water it down really good. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I took the big brush and I saturated in water. Then I'm like, squeeze, squeeze.
No, it works. How we doing? Can we move on? Payne, what do you need? I think that is the right tone for the blend to move forward, but you will still need to go even lighter for the forehead. Yeah. It looks good. Okay, can we move on? Okay, while we're waiting, I would saturate your blue. Because we're going to do the same thing. Same kind of process, but we're going to move to the ocean scene. So get a puddle going for your blue. Yes. This is where we're going to start making quite a bit of movement. Because we're going to do layer, 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 layer. And then come back and layer, 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 layer. That's a good line, but now you got to blend it out, bro. Why are you sharing cups? There is literally enough for everyone. Get your own cup of water, children. Stresses me out, man. I would not want to share water with somebody else. There's no way.
That's like
Whatever you're painting with is going to contaminate what I'm doing. Yeah.
exactly.
That's why I'm like, there's no way I would share a cup.
I don't even share a palette. Are you kidding me?
Okay. We're moving into the ocean scene. The goal right now. Okay. Now zoom out a little bit. The goal for this guy. We are going to create these little triangles that act as a light reflection. Okay. It is the exact same process. You see them now a little bit more?
They kind of look like.
So let me hold it up.
Wait,
It is the exact same process we did here. We're just putting them in triangles. And they are pulling towards the light. Okay? Now, you need to add at least 5. At least 5. So, that is way too bright. I'll fix it. Here we go. Maybe a little bit more. Is that good? Okay. So, we're going to go ahead with our very watered down blue. And I'm going in with a already wet brush. And I'm just taking a little bit off of the edge of it. And I'm going to start my triangles from the tape. And I'm going to move forward.
Now, how big do they need to be?
Okay, so I have that. And then I'm taking clean water. And I'm just pulling that paint back towards the tape so it's not very dark. Now, when that dries, it's going to be very, very light. If you feel like you went too dark too quickly, grab your paper towel. Question?
Does it need to be darker than the very outside?
No, you want it to be lighter. You want it to be. I'm going a little heavier right now so you can see it a little bit more. But you want it to be very light. So, like, even for mine right now, I would probably take my paper towel and just dab that out a little bit because I think it was a little too dark. So, again, you just want to play with it. And you want everything to be very much the same value. Trying to avoid those hard lines. So that's my first one, and I'm going to go ahead and do a few more. That is definitely not light enough. Ugh, don't like that. Yes, that's perfect.
Like I kind of saturated my blue too a little bit.
No, that's totally fine. So that's 2.
So two, how many three triangles, right?
5. 5. If you only have 2 or 3, it looks weird. You gotta have enough so the context is a visual reality of we're looking up into the light, and the reflection will go as followed. They don't have to be the same size. Some of them can be smaller if you want. So now I have 4. And I'll probably add one more over in this corner. The one thing you need to focus on and remember, though, is that you need to make sure that all of your points are going into one direction. So if you've ever done like pointillism, or not pointillism, 1-point perspective, everything's going to that one point. Because if you have a bunch of these spikes going on your paper, but they're not like facing the same direction, then it's going to look weird. You need to make sure that it's all going towards the center of your paper. Yes. Yes. We're going to start working on the mountains. Okay. And just like we did up top here, it's the same concept. So we're drawing a line with our paints, very, very watery amounts of paints, but we are creating our first line of mountains. Okay, so we already have our background, which is an aggressively light gray. You are just going to take the step above that on the value scale. Does that make sense? Ish. Okay. If we are going back to our value scales that we practiced, okay, we all practiced those value scales, right? And you did one where it was a black. So this is our light gray, like in our painting. We're focusing on the first layer. So you will essentially draw your line in with your paint, and then you're going to pull the value down. And again, we're just layering on top. So make sure your black is ready to go. If it is not, take a few seconds to do that.
Cool. What was doing triangle doing?
You're doing a mountain range. So realistically, it is up to you creatively.
So
So if you want to watch, I'm going to simply start my mountain range in the back. You can have your mountains be really spiky. You can have them be round. These are your mountains. Do them how you want to do them. Once I have my line in, I will take my paint again, and we are simply, watch what happens when I add water though. It's going to lighten. That's good. Yeah. Because we want a value scale. If we go too dark the first go around, then we're constantly fighting that factor. The lighter you start, the better it will look. What was that? What are they doing? Too much black. Way too much. Notice I'm not going all the way to the edge of my paper. Why? Yeah, we have more mountains that are coming, so I don't need to really worry about going all the way to the bottom. You can if you want, but you don't need to. Not like that. Okay, we'll got a little bit more here. There we go. Just fade it. Pause. So again, we're basically recreating this, but we're going to do it down here, and we can change it up if we want, or you can match it almost exactly. I'm going to change mine up. I'm going to start on this side, and I'm probably going to pull forward in through here and then move down. You are welcome to do whatever shape you would prefer, but it is the same exact technique. Notice how many times we're practicing it.
So many times, Miss Carter.
So we'll be experts. You still could pull, because all I see right now is a dark line. You want it to blend together, sir. So with my very saturated paint, I'm going to start a little further in. And with this one, because I want this to feel more like hell, which I have already told you multiple times, I'm going to have more jagged lines. They're not going to be as round as the green one. I'm going to focus on more just sharp, jagged shapes. You can. So I want this space to feel much more menacing. So once I have my shape in, then I'm just going to very quickly start moving my paint around. Come in. And making sure it's nice and blended. And if you haven't already noticed, you need to do this quickly because even though you have the saturation on there, it dries very quickly. And once it dries, it's hard to work with. So you want to make sure you move quickly.
Oh, so yours are a little dark. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this does not look good. It's a little light.
Yeah, so mine is just a little bit darker because you're fighting against the orange.
Yeah.
You do kind of have to make this section just a little bit darker. Yes. I'm assuming that was your opportunity and your time to experiment. So if you get a couple trees in, and you're like, okay, and then you just sit there and go, okay, now what? Get in there and add some branches. Try practicing with your dry brush. Because you will be doing landscapes on your own. And the more that you practice and the more that you just play with your scenes, the more you will learn to move forward on your own piece. If you feel like your green is still not deep enough, go in there and add some more green to it. Feel like you're losing your trees, add some green. I am not going to be upset if you all of a sudden have this green scene that has like so many trees in it. That means you practiced first and foremost, right? So if yours doesn't look exactly like mine, but you've added some things and you practiced some other stuff, perfect. By all means, that's a good thing. Yes. Okay. Are we all at this point? Okay. If you are not, please continue till you are. The rest of you, let's go ahead and start cleaning up. Yeah, I told you this takes forever.